It is a story told about the late Rebbe of Gur, the Sfat Emet. The story goes that when he was a little boy, he was required by his parents to eat rye and bean for 40 days. Why is that? Because when he was a boy, he said to his parents, I don't like to eat it. So his father, the big Hasidic Rebbe, said to him, well, you have to eat it for 40 days. Guess why? The only thing you have to love is Hashem. As far as food is concerned, you eat the food in order to serve God. So here we are. We have to understand the difference between ohev and tzarich. Ohev meaning something that you love, and something that you have to do is something that is necessary. We are in Tractate Nedarim, page 55, in a Mishnah. The Mishnah speaks about someone who committed himself, made a vow from not to eat the grain. When we study Pesach, we study the 5 species of grain. I'm sure that everyone remember that. Chita, seora, kusemet. It's the wheat, barley, rye, spelt. All these 5 species of grain. It's the essence, the basic of making, which we call modern bread, or if it's Pesach, it's matzah. And we say that the person who commit himself, when it's come to vow not to eat dagan, anything that made out of grain, asur befol hamitzri yavesh. Is forbidden also the dry cowpea, that is because the same way as a grain, it's the how you make this process, the production, the annual, it's you put it as a kol kri, as a pile of grain, and therefore it's prohibited. As you remember, we said it many times, the way that the Ran explained, that it's, you go in Nederim, in a matter of vow, bilshon bnei adam, the way that people express themselves. So that's divrei Rabbi Meir. והחכמים אומרים, אינו אסור אלא בחמשת המינים. Said the person who made it, he is prohibited to have part of it only in those 5 species of grain. 5 species of grain. So the Ritva explained that when someone used the term grain, it has to be solely 5 species. Rabbi Meir Omer, there is a case that Rabbi Meir agree with the sages, הנודר מן התבואה אינו אסור אלא מחמשת המינים. So if someone take a vow that grain is forbidden to him, so therefore he refrain from eating grain, so he's prohibited only from the 5 species of grain. Now, אבל הנודר מן הדגן אסור בכל, but if someone made a vow to abstain from dagan, so therefore he is now prohibited from everything that you have in the granary. Umutar, however, he is permitted bepeirot ha'ilan, the produce, the fruits of the tree, uveyarak, and also in a vegetable, because you don't make a carry, you don't make a pile from them. Little introduction before the Gemara. when we study Tanakh, we study about the Chizkiyahu HaMelech, one of the ancient Jewish kings, and he saw a situation that people weak in the area of giving Trumot U'Maasrot, and giving the tithe. So he made a takana, he made a special rules, decree, that make sure that people tighten. Lemeimra, so we now derive from the word of Rabbi Meir, the dagan kol de midgan mashma. When you use the word dagan, it included any produce that is harvested one time, they make it as a carry, as a pile. And therefore, you included ligum, kitniyot, as part of that. As you know, we discussed Pesach, and it was a big to-do between Sfaradim and Ashkenazim, if you remember that discussion. Here, in this sense, you see the ligum is included. Mativ Rav Yosef, he brought, as we said, from the second book of Chronicles, chapter 31. So, vechifrotz hadavar, when Chizkiah HaMelech, the king Chizkiah, saw that is a weak area of people giving, low level of giving tithe, hirbu bnei Israel, so it was increase of people, reishit dagan, tirosh veitzhar, udvash, vechol tvuat sadeh, umaasar hakol larov. So, therefore, as the observance of the decree became widespread, I'm just translated from the Tanakh, the Jewish people gave in abundance the first fruits of grain, wine and oil and honey, and all the produce of the field, and the tithe of everything is abundance they brought. So you see here, all this list. And now the question is, Ve'i amart, since you said what? Dagan kol de midgan mashma. If you tell me that the word dagan is basically alluded to everything that is piled in granary, like the way that we said, carry, remember, is a small mountain, it's like a pile. What do you mean by this statement that they said at the time of Chizkiyahu HaMelech, Kifrotz hadavar hirbu, that as the observance of the decree become widespread, the Jewish people gave in abundance? What did exactly the Pasuk try to tell us? So the Rosh elaborates and said that the keys, v'chol tvuat sadeh, like the Shildot said, Mai v'chol tvuat sadeh. That's basically the question. Because according to Rabbi Meir, it turns that the word, the beginning of Dagan, Reshi Dagan, that included all the species, that one made a pile, and that included what? Legumes. So it means when the Pasuk, when the line in the Chronicle used the term V'chol tvuat sadeh, is look like superfluous, is no needs. So the Rosh, the Ran, and Tosfot said, so Reshit Dagan, that applies solely for the 5 species. Everyone remember what is this 5 species? Help me. 5 species?
5 species of grain.
Grain, yes.
It's wheat, oats, barley, spelt, and
rye.
And rye.
Very good. So v'chol tvuat hasadeh is adding kitniyot. Very nice. It's adding legumes. Amar Abaye, if that's the case, the word v'chol tvuat hasadeh la'atuye, it's come to teach us what? Perot ha'ilan ve'yarak. That apply to fruits of the trees and vegetable. That obviously it's not part of the title Dagan. Why? Because you don't pile the fruits and vegetable in the carry in the that way, and therefore it's called Tvuat Hasadeh. That's the way the Rosh explained to us. So the same way that the fruits and vegetable you don't do a carry. So that's the time they did it in Beit HaMikdash. Now, the Mefaresh, just want to show you something, a vignette of the Mefaresh. The Mefaresh, which some say Rashi, anyway, they said, "Dehirbu bo bnei Yisrael liten mehem maaser deoraita, the midoraita lo mechayev maaser, ele mide de midgan." It says, biblically speaking, you go by what? Anything that is solely 5 species of grain. Delo mashma ela mechameshet minim. So according to Mefaresh, specifically, when it's come Trumot u'Maasrot, so the Chatam Sofer elaborates, basically challenged this Mefaresh, and he said, Trumot u'Maasrot midoraita. But he said, as a conclusion, this is specifically for the Chameshet Minei Dagan, the 5 species of grain. But others, all the Chiyuv midrabanan, that's the way the Chatam Sofer said. Rabbi Meir Omer, Rabbi Meir said, Hanoder mina tvu'ah, if someone who vow a neder to abstain from the tvu'ah, so he said that it's only prohibited for the 5 species of grain. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, even though the way that the Mishnah described to us, the view of Rabbi Meir is Da'at Yachid is one individual view, Hakol, even the sages agree, Modim, Benoder mina tvu'ah, if one vowed to abstain from tvu'ah, she'ein asu ela mechameshet haminim, is only for these 5 species of grain. Tanya Nameache, also learn in a Braita that even though you see a disputation between Rabbi Meir and the sages in regards to the definition of the word dagan, shavin benoder mina tvu'ah, she'en asur ela mechameshet haminim. Solely. So the Gemara said, if that's the case, pshita, it's obvious. It's only those species are the one who called tvu'ah. Ma'u detema tvu'ah kol milei mashma. You may think that the word tvu'ah applies all items that grow in the ground. So they come and teach us, so therefore you learn kamash melan, because you look at the translation, the Targum, Onkelos, you see it in the, for example, in the Bereshit, in Genesis chapter 47, the Targum translated the word tvu'ah alalta. Alalta, so it's like you're bringing something from the fruit. So they said tvu'ah is like lehavi, to bring from the field to the house. Kamash melan, de lo mashma kol milei. So they teach us the expression that means all items that grow from the ground, solely from the 5 species of grain. Mativ Rav Yosef to ask a question. We have this pasuk, v'chifrotz hadavar hirbu bnei Yisrael, as the abundance of the decree become widespread, the Jewish people gave in abundance the first fruits of grain. So you see here, so since we use the word dagan, it means any type of tvu'ah, that including species that not part of the 5 species of grain. Amar Rava, wait a second, tvu'ah lechud, the tvu'ah is separate, and tvu'at sadeh lechud, the tvu'ah of the field, it's a separate term, it's not the same one. Tvu'ah meaning specifically something that comes from the 5 species of grain. Tvu'at sadeh, it's anything that to grow in the field. So here is an indirect halachic discussion. A person rent or lease. We live in boating area. You see someone renting his boat, right? Renting his tools. Okay? It's okay. Versus money. You cannot take an interest for money. So the question is, how come you tell me in one hand you're allowed to rent, and in a sense you don't get only back your tool, your boat, you get also a money for using your jet ski, for using your power boat, all right? Versus when you lend money, you can charge an interest. How come? So the Arot Vash brought the Ritva, who said, the Torah said when it's come to money, so you get back in a sense the same. If you have a bill of $100, you give to someone the $100, you get back the $100 bill. Okay? So you get back the coin. We talk about between people of the community, right? Versus when you have a tool, the tool reduces its value when you're using it, right? So it's a different, you treat it differently. That's the way Ritva said. Anyway, here is a story related to that. So the Khatam Sofer, another point, Khatam Sofer asked here a question. What do you do with corn? Tiras. What type of bracha you made for tiras? Obviously we said what? Adama, right? So Khatam Sofer said, wait a second, there are those who take the tiras, who take a corn and make it like a bread. They grind it, in such a way. Sometimes they add few things and make it like a bread. So therefore now the question, you still say Borei Pri Adama, or you say She'akol, or you even say Mezonot, right? And he goes further and asks, how about 5 species of grain, Chamesh Minei Dagan? He bring a Chok Yaakov that said that why you don't tell me that corn is a chometz? So he rejected the Chok Yaakov and he said no, the corn is not have any form of hachmatzah, any form of how do you call hachmatzah? Rising leaven. And he said the best suggestion the Khatam Sofer said is you incorporate the corn within the Seudah, and therefore you don't need, we're exempt from having a separate bracha. Bar Mar Shmuel Pakid delitnun tleisar alfei zuzei lerava min alalta dinhar panya. He put in his will to give to Rava from alalta. Alalta is the translation of the tvu'ah, from a place that he have his estate. So since he wasn't sure what estate he should take, שלחה רבה לקמי דרב יוסף, עללת אהיכם מקראיה. So the Ran said that it's from the word ayel meaning anything that brings income of money, and the Rosh said ayel is from the language of me'uleh, something that it's highest level. עללת אהיכם מקראיה. אמר רב יוסף, מתניתא היא ושבין, רב מאיר and the sages agree, בנודר מן התבואה שנשאו לה מחמשת המינים, as we said, that if someone made a vow of תבואה, he's only prohibited from the 5 species of grain. אמר לאביי, מי דמה? How do you compare? תבואה לא משמע אלא מחמשת המינים. When you use the term תבואה, it implies only taking from the 5 species of grain. Alalta, when you use the word alalta, kol mile mashna, anything that's included with the word alalta, which means other things. As we said, alalta can be either income or something that improve, like the Rosh said, adruar l'kamei de Rava. So bring back the answer to Rava. Amar ha lo kami ba'eli. That wasn't the question. Hadaud mibayli schar batim uschar sfinot mai. When you come to the rent or reward for house or boat, if this is something that improve, when you rent a house and ship, so you said, Mi amrinan kevan defachatan lavalaltai, since the property deteriorate daily, the rental income is not considered alalta, or dilma kevan de lo yedia pchatayu alaltahi. Since you don't know, it's not discernible, so the rental income is considered alalta. Amru Rabbanan kamed Rav Yosef. So they said before Rav Yosef, remember that he was blind, soon you see. Amar v'chi me'achar lo tzarich lana ma yishalach lan. So it's like, why you ask me this question if you know the answer, right? So he gets him upset. Ikbad Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef was unhappy, was angry at Rabbah. So as we said, you see from that, the point we said at Imre Yosher. Imre Yosher bring this point of the Ritva. He said, you can prove from this Gemara the whole point of rental. Remember what we said earlier, rental. When you're renting a boat, you're renting a jet ski, you're renting a house, so is a point of deterioration. Versus the Ritva said, when you're renting quote unquote cash, papers that have a value, so you return the papers. There's no deterioration of the papers. Shama Rava ve'ata lekamei b'ma'alei yoma de kippurei. This is a beautiful lesson. So Rav Yosef was the Rav, the Talmid Chacham, and Rava was concerned. So he went in the eve of Yom Kippur to appease him. Ashkachei lesham'ei dehava kamazig kamei kasa dechamra. So he, Rav Yosef, called his servant, attendants. Remember, he was blind, and in those days we said many times that the wine was very strong, so they used to combine water with the wine to dilute it so people can drink it. So Amar lei, havli de amziglei ana, let me do that. Yahevlei, so the attendants let him do it. V'kamazikiu kasa de chamra, so he combined, he diluted the water with the wine for Rav Yosef. So Rav Yosef did not notice that he's a Rava doing that, right? Ki kashate, when Rav Yosef started drinking the wine, Omar haden mizgad damele mizgad Rava de bread Rav Yosef bar Chama. So he said the way that you dilute it is very much the way that the Rav Yosef bar Chama does. Amar lei, Rava say, who knew? This is the guy that does that. Amar lei lo tetiva karach. Stand up. Ad amart li perusha de aden milta. This is your time, you need to give me the explanation of the milta. So first you should know that there are expertise, especially in those days, that know how to dilute it properly. It's like 1/3 and 2/3. As a side note, there are those who follow Kabbalah, when they make Kiddush, etc., to put there's three point of water. Anyway, so the idea is, he said he wants to imply to him to be humble. So he wants him to explain the psukim dealing with the anava. Shita Mekubetzet elaborates. Anyway, so he said, Mai dechtiv, famous pasuk in the book of Bamidbar, chapter 21, Umi midbar matana, Umi matana nachliel, Umi nachaliel bamot. That's the name of the places that they chanted the song of all those times that they saved from those evil nations, from the Amorite that wants to kill them, the miracle of the well, etc. So it's like the well that traveled with them. Amar lei, this is again implication indirectly that alluded from the text. כיוון שעושה אדם את עצמו כמדבר שהוא מופקר לכל, if a person make himself humble like a desert that it can use by anybody, which means someone teach Torah to anyone. Torah nitna lo b'matana. He has a gift of Torah that he does not forget his teaching or his learning. Shene'emar umimidbar matana. We said from the desert he received a gift. Vekevan shenitna lo b'matana. Since he received it as a gift, so therefore nachalo el, which means that either the one said that he inherited this world and the world to come, or they said that that he have the understanding of Torah as his inheritance. Shene'emar, because it said umimatana nachali el, וכיוון שנחלו אל עולה לגדולה. The moment that he have, good morning, the moment that he have this נחלה, this inheritance, so he grow in either in knowledge or he grow גדולה, greatness. שנאמר מנחליאל במות. He said from the נחליאל, that it's literally meaning inherited of God, by God, to heights places. However, ve'im higbiya atzmo, if the person became an arrogant, right, full of himself, right, so narcissist, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mashpilo, God, guess what he does to him? He bring him low. שנאמר מבמות הגיא, from the highest place to the valley, ולא עוד, and furthermore, ששוקעים אותו בקרקע. If needed, they sink him into the ground. שנאמר ונשקפה על פני הישימון. The pasuk said that it's they overlooking the surface of the wilderness. So it's like Venishkafa, the Rashash said that you can change the pei in ayin, and it means that it's an exchange. Yeshimon in general, it's a place that is very, very low. So the Khatam Sofer said that when you have a teacher, when you have a rabbi or melamed, or someone who's teaching other people Torah, to others, to Klal Israel, right? So God gives him a special gift of understanding, of having the chidushim, having the deepest understanding of the Torah, more than he entitled. Why? Because of his talmidim, because of his students. The merit of teaching Torah free of charge to Klal Israel, so because of the Talmidim, he gets that gift. There's a story told about Rav Dushinsky, may he rest in peace. He wrote amazing Chidushei Torah, amazing books. So he was very strict to write from time to time during his classes. And he said, if I have something that I gain before, it's quote unquote mine. But if it's this chidush, this something new, came because of my shiur, because of my students, so it's the koach hatalmidim, that's because of my students. And that's the gift, special gift I have. Ve'im chozer bo, however, if he repents from his haughtiness, HaKadosh Baruch Hu magvio, if the person make teshuvah, if he return, change his way, so God, he raises him up again. 55b shene'emar, because they said in Yeshayahu, in Isaiah chapter 40, Kol gei yinaseh, every valley shall be lifted. So when Rav Yosef heard this beautiful interpretation, he understood that Rava was aware of the mistakes that he made, because he was in a way arrogant toward his teacher, and therefore he appeased and he forgave him. So the story was told about the late Vizhnitzer Rebbe, the Imre Chaim. They said that in general, the Gemara said that Talmid Chacham, the Torah scholar, should have Shminit Shebashminit, should have a small, tiny portion of arrogancy. Because if you be too humble, sometimes other people or students will not look up at him. So he had to have some little. But the Rebbe said, the Torah said, Bayom Hashmini Atzeret Tiyeh Lachem. They said that the 8th day of the festival, it should be Atzeret. So he took it not the literal, but the indirect explanation. He says, even the Yom Hashmini, even the 8th of the 8th, which is the 1/8 of a Torah scholar that needs to have some level of arrogancy, Atzeret, deep in their heart, they should not be Balei Gaivers, they should not be people of arrogancy. Atzeret Tiyeh Lachem. It's a story told about the Tzanzer Rebbe. Someone came to the late Rebbe of Tzanz, and he said, you know, I need to be a Rebbe of community, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And to me it's a great suffering because I like to be in the Beit HaMidrash of the Rebbe for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. I don't want to go to those balabatim in a village and serve there for high holidays. To me it's a huge loss not to be with the Rebbe. So the Tzanzer Rebbe said to him, look, when you daven with the balabatim, when they come to Yomim Noraim, they have teshuvah, they have a heart, their heart is broken, right? Because they start have a reflection of what they did all year and how much they waste their time in vanity, etc., etc. So therefore, because of that and because of that spirit, you will be uplifted. So you should not worry that you miss something by not being with me during the high holidays. It brings you to a point of humbleness by being part of them, and that's what needed on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Anyway, Tanya, הנודר מן הדגן, אסור אף בפועל המצרי יבש. If someone who vow that grain, dagan, is forbidden to him, so he's prohibited to partake of the dry cowpea. And he said, umutar belach, you're allowed to use a fresh cowpea. Why? Because this is something that you don't have in the carry, you don't have it in the pile. Umutar beorez, but you're permitted to partake of rice. So the Rosh explains, based of what we study in Psachim 35, there is a disputation, if you remember Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, the whole idea of rice, if it's a part of the 5 species of grain or not. So according to this Braita, rice is not part of 5 species of grain. That's based on the disputation between Sfardim and Ashkenazim when it's come to a ligum in Pesach. Anyway, bechilka, chilka, so it's basically divided. This is a kernel, so it's the 2 part. You crush it in 2. The one is chilka, it's a 2 part, split in 2. And then you have bitragis, it's wheat kernels. They divide into 3. Ubetisanei. Tisanei is the wheat kernel that crushed into 4 parts. So since you divided it to those pieces, you no longer call it a grain, and you cannot say that that's part of his neder. Because after you divided them, that's the way the Rosh explains, the moment you divided them, so it originally was wheat, now it's divided, so it's no longer considering a wheat. So now we go to a certain definition. The Gemarrah wants to teach us certain definition of item like fruits and other produce. הנודר מן פירות השנה, אסור בכל פירות השנה, ומותר בגדיים ובטלאים ובחלב ובביצים ובגוזלות. So if someone vow a neder to abstain from the fruit of the year, so he's prohibited to partake all the fruits of the year. But he is permitted to partake of kids, lambs, milk, eggs, and chicks. Ve'im amar, if the person specified, and he said, Gidulei shana alai, if he said the growth of the year are prohibited upon me, asur bechulan, he is prohibited to partake of them all. Hanoder min perot haaretz, this is similar braita. If one make a neder vow from all the fruits of the earth, which is priya adama, the fruit of the ground, or priya etz, the fruits of the tree. So the Rosh explained that that's the two. However, the Rabbi Avraham Minahar and also the Rashash said that it's not part of perot haaretz, only priya adama, the fruit of the ground. Umutar yelau bichmehin, it's a truffle, upitriyot, and the mushrooms. Why? Because it's not considering perot haaretz. That's the way the Rosh said. As we said, the Rashash challenged that. Ve'im amar gidulei karka alai, if he said specifically the growth of the ground are prohibited upon me, asur bechulan, he also prohibited for all, including the truffles and mushroom, because it's considering a gidulei karka. It's a story about the Lev Simcha, the late Simcha Benim, the Gemarrah Rebbe. I have the privilege to know him in person as a yeshiva boy. So one time, unfortunately, he was involved in an accident. So he came out good. But he was in debate with himself when he came home, should I say a gomel or not? Bench gomel or not? So what did he do? He took an apple. And he said in a full kavana, in a very, very sincere kavana, the bracha of Bore Priya Etz. And he mentioned then that the pasuk said, the sentence said, Ki ha'adam etz hasadeh. The person is like etz hasadeh, is like the tree, fruit of the field.
Yeah.
So therefore, I meant to say that I'm like a fruit in the field, and incorporate that, the idea of the suffix, the questioning of a gomel instead. Anyway, Veramini, question is, al davar she'en gidulo min haaretz, things whose growth is not from haaretz, from the ground, omer she'akol niya bidvaro. This is the blessing by whose words all things came to be. Vetanya al hamelach ve'al hazamit, that is a salt of a brine, which some use for Pesach, right? Ve'al kmehin upitriyot, but also to truffles and mushrooms. Omer she'akol niya bidvaro. Say that blessing, which means in this braita, the truffles and mushrooms is not considering gidulei karka. Amar Abaye explained, and he said, Mirba ravu me'ar'a. He said, they grow from the earth, but when it's come, but he said, meinak me'avir hayam kevelo me'ar'a. But when it's come to the sustenance, they draw sustenance from the air, and not from the earth. So the Gemara asks, so why is that distinction so important, so significant? Ve'akatane al davar she'en gidlo min haaretz. That's what we study in brachot. That something that over food that was growth is not from the ground. So one needs to do the bracha, right? It's she'akol, all things that came to be. So even according to Abaye, mushrooms grow from the ground. So the Gemara said, Tanei, you should learn with the way that you have to learn this braita, al davar she'en yonek min haaretz. So it means the over a food item that does not draw sustenance from the ground. So therefore, one said this bracha of she'akol. Mishnah. Hanoder min haksut mutar besak uviria uvechamila. If someone made a vow, make a neder, that he is that garments is forbidden to him, so you're allowed to have a sackcloth wear a sheet and wear a coarse curtain. It's called chamila, because according to that Gemara, and that's the way that the Rosh and Ran or Ben Ovad and Batanua explain, that it's not part of the ksut when people make a malbush, a clothing, and therefore the Ritva explained that this type of bgadim, like sackcloth, like a coarse curtain, it's not something that people made a malbush, a clothing. אמר קונם צמר עולה עליי, מותר להתכסות בגזעי צמר. If one said wool is konam for me, so it's not therefore placed on itself, it permitted for him to cover himself with wool fleece. Why? Because it's not considered a garment, but it's forbidden for him to wear only a woolen fabric. פשטן עולה עליי, מותר להתכסות באניצי פשטן. If he said the flax, it's konam upon me, so he permitted to cover himself with flax in bundle, because the only prohibition is the flaxen fabric. So in general, repeat the idea that when it's come to Nedarim, to come to matter of vow, halech achar leshon bnei adam, you go by the language that people are using. Rabbi Yehuda omer, hakol lefi hanoder. Everything is depend upon the manner of which one made this vow. So you have to think about his intent, because the way that the Ritva and Mukhe Yosef and others said, it's a person intent levisha, the prohibition against wearing it upon himself, but not other manners. Ta'an vehezia vaya rechok kashe, a person, especially in those days, he is bearing a burden of wool and linen, he's carrying it, and he is sweating heavily, and he can't stand it. So as a result, Amar konam tzemer upishtim ole alai, he put himself in a position, he says, I prohibited himself any type of wool, linen that I carry, mutar להתכסות ואסור להפשיל לאחוריו. So a person can cover himself, allow with wool and linen garment, but it is prohibited for him to sling them over the shoulder behind him as a burden. Because again, you go by the definition of the circumstance. Since he made it because he have a great sorrow of carrying this wool or linen or flax, so it's only the way he prohibited himself of carrying it, but not having them as part of his clothing. That's the way the Meiri explains. So now the Braita elaborates on this Mishnah. Tanya, hanoder min haksut mutar besak uviria uvachamila. We learn in the Braita that one who vows that the garment is forbidden to him, he is permitted to wear a sackcloth, a sheet, and wear a coarse curtain. ואסור בפונדה, ובפיסקיה, ובסקורטיה, ובקטביליה, ואנפילה, ופליניה, ומכנסיים וכובע. So all these lists, leather spread, leather sock, leather apron, all these items, hat, etc., it's considering a garment, a ksut. My iskuti, what is the meaning of in the Braita? So Amar Rabbi Bar Chana, kituna de tzala. He said it means tanner's apron. So the Shvut Yaakov brings the Shar refrain, who said, how about if a poor person, he indigent and he commit himself for certain garment, cause him sorrow not to wear. So if it's not specified, is that included shoes or not? So he bring a proof. This Shar refrain bring a proof from the Arba Mitot Bedin. When the Bedin executed someone, followed the 4 ways, so they executed the person without his shoes. So here, you remember the Shvut Yaakov said, if one see a poor woman and he commit himself to pay for all of her garments, is that mean that that manner of vow included all kind of tachshitim, like things that women wear, like bracelet, all these nice things that they wear, that included in that manner of honor? So in short, what he tried to say, just give you the vignette, he said again, Nederim alecha achar lashon adam. You always go by the manner of people, the way that people use, how people express themselves. So the Tanya יוצאים בשק עבה ובסגוס עבה ובריאה ובחמילה מפני הגשמים. Here we talk about carrying on Shabbat. So they said when it's come to carry from private domain to public domain, so you're allowed to go out on Shabbat cover in thick sackcloth or in the coarse woolen blanket. Why? Because you need a protection if it's raining. So that's not considering Masa, the Rosh said, not burden, and you're allowed to do it. אבל לא בתיבה ולא בקופה ולא במחצלת פני הגשמים, because that's not derech malbush, that's not the manner of people wearing it, but only derech masa, that people carry it as a loading themselves with that. That's the way the Tosfot explain. הרועים יוצאים בשקים. Shepherd may go out on Shabbat cover in sackcloth, because they typically go out with a sackcloth garment. ולא רואים בלבד אמרו, אלא כל אדם, אלא שדיברו חכמים בהווה. It's not only as shepherds, but even all people may go out wearing sackcloth, but the rabbi is talking in the present. So therefore, the rabbis use something that it's applied to a common manners. Usually people don't do that, only the shepherds. So that's the way they use. So from that, there are those rabbis that derive from this Gemara that said that if there's no Eruv and you see a pouring rain, you don't want your hat to be ruined. So there are those who try saying that how about covering with a little plastic or something. But Moshe Feinstein have an issue with that. Yes, so Moshe Feinstein said that it's only the body but not the head.
The hat already, he says the hat already is protecting you from the rain, so
yes,
that's the
as I said,
of the hat. So why do you need
it's
to
a discussion. Moshe Feinstein is more
Moshe Feinstein says no cover.
No, yes, but not everyone goes with that. There are those who dispute it. Anyway, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, הכל לפי הנודר. Rabbi Yehuda says everything is determined according to one who vows. תניא כיצד אמר רבי יהודה הכל לפי הנודר? היה לבוש צמר והצר, if he is wearing a woolen and it causes him tremendous discomfort, and therefore his reaction, he said, ואמר קונם צמר עולה עליי, אסור ללבוש ומותר לטעון. So if he make konam for me, that I will therefore not place upon myself a tzemer, woolen garment, so he is prohibited to wear a woolen garment, but he's permitted to burden woolen garment upon him. So because it's only because of his sorrow of wearing this woolen garment. היה טעון פשתן והזיע, but if he is burdened with flax and it's causing him great sweating from the burden, ואמר קונם פשתן עולה עליי, מותר ללבוש ואסור לטעון. So it's, in short, it's all depend of the kavanah, of the intent of the vower. So the Chavot Yair ask a question. If someone is driving, for example, nowadays a power boat or jet ski or thing, and he almost sank, so he made this type of vow that I will not drive this type of. So the question is, he did not specify. What do you do? Is just this specific boat, or it's applied to any boat, etc.? So he said maybe because he was so traumatized, he makes something. But then it may apply to his specification. So in short, he concluded it's all depend upon the person intent. If was intent on that specific one, so it's only that one and not others.
לכם לשולוים, מלאכי השולוים, מלאכי